Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to review round 12 of the 2025 AFL Supercoach season. So not a good week for us in terms of AFL Supercoach. 1586, so it was the bye round, so best 18 only, but even then we could only scrape together not even a 1600. So it was 90,000th for the round, and saw us drop even further down the overall rank. So if we have a look at the team, we only ended up with 18 playing. So obviously a few outs and buys, and carrying a couple of injured players probably isn't ideal. But in saying that, Nick Martin was good with a 128. He was the trade in. So I think initially I had Lockie Whitfield in the video last week, but I think just looking at it, they both have the same buy. They were both at a similar-ish price. I think the difference was Nick Martin was just more of the pod, so I just thought let's just do it, bring him in, something different, and it worked out well, which is pretty rare this season. Geordie Clark with the 143 was really good too. Great score from him. Roberts with a 91. I think we have to be happy with that. He's averaging 95, so we'll take that. But Riley Bice with a 9, that hurt. And again, I had to take it as part of my best 18. So, defence is struggling a bit at the moment. In the midfield, we had Andy Brayshaw with a 123, which was good. Merritt, our VC, only a 93. So he was the other trade in this week. Actually lost some cash, so less than ideal. Nick Dacos with a 116 is pretty good, averaging 108, so that's above average. We'll take that. Clary 58 was a bit disappointing given what he has been producing of late. Lindsay with a 59, we can't complain about that in our best 18 the way it's gone this week. Kako also in our best 18 with a 52, so it's something. Max Gorner's our captain with a 110 was good. And Bailey Smith was awesome on 129. So, great to bring him in a couple of weeks ago. Finally, matching everyone else that's got him. Ryan Marich with a 60. Again, sort of changed roles. So he is dipping a bit. But we've got bigger concerns in our team. Levi Ashcroft with the 59. So, he's still averaging 77. So, he's probably going to be our luxury upgrade. That's, we are fast running out of trades and not a lot of cash gen and all that sort of stuff. Hewitt was good though with a 92, so that was very helpful to get a bit of extra points out of him. But Filippo got himself injured, so this trade just hasn't worked out for us. It is what it is. 5 for him, and again we had to cop it because that was my 18th best score. So Gray was good though with a 70, and Flynn 79 is below his average, but we're not expecting much from him. Let's be completely honest. So if you have a look at the game day fixture, so a comfortable win for Noah's team, just torp it. He had Caldwell with a 123, so that's a great get, particularly given his price point. Bolton with an even ton. Whitfield with a 116, so the Martin move was slightly better. Sheldrick with a 93, so he's started to show a bit, which is nice. Captain Baz, so that was a great move. That's probably the correct combination. Max into Bailey Smith this week. Nas with an even 100 as well is nice. And then had Dacos, Clark, Brayshaw. Elsewhere across the league, let's see, we've got 1893, which is slightly better. Any 19s, doesn't look like it. So it looks like Noah had the second best score in the league. So no shame in losing to that. Just how poor my score is where the shame is. But Hedges, Lachlan's team, with a 1893. So I got Noah by 10. He had Noah Anderson with a 146. How's his ownership? 594. owned by 14%, so a bit of a pod, not a super pod, but that's fine. Luke Jackson with a 122 is nice. Sinclair with a 112. Dawson with a 112. Sinclair with a 113. Track had Dacos, Clark, Captain Gorn, Bailey Smith. So yeah, lots of similar sort of players there. Oh, I guess yeah. For me, I had Brayshaw. After that, not so much, I suppose. Merritt, Lindsay, Sandy Brock's still going good. How much cash has he made now? Yeah, 145k. That'd be super handy at the moment. Oh well. Have a quick look at the other options that went well this week. So Grundy, top scorer with a 161. Who did Sydney play? Adelaide. So I think that'd be like the easily the biggest score that anyone's put on Rob this year. So well done, Brody. McCluggage 159. So nice pot at 7% if you own him, averaging 120 for the season. Probably one that's gone under a few radars. Callum Wilkie with a 150. He's only averaging 100 for the year, so I think that number's fairly accurate in terms of ownership. We talked about Anderson, side bottom with a 146, again sort of averaging low hundreds, so 1.3% is fair. Nank with a 142, so potentially could be your, if you're doing the R3 in the flex, not the worst shout. Mark Keen's an interesting one at under 400k, scoring a 137, but only averaging now 72 for the year, so I think that's an exception rather than the rule. Prestia, this is an interesting one. So first game back, 132. So I don't know, not assuming that's not really standard given it's not going to have anything here, but you can see like his career average is that sort of, you know, 80 to 90 mark. So he can go big. Well, actually, it's probably one of his biggest all time. A few 120s there, but a couple 130s plus. So probably nothing to get too excited about. Windhager with a 126 was pretty good at particularly at that price, but I guess more of a tagger traditionally. But I guess the one everyone's talking about is Caldwell. So only 1.3% owned, but 440k back-to-back hundreds off the back of what was a really quiet game before that. I think he might have been injured even. So if you have a look at his score, so yeah, there was a 40 in 78 minutes, and then bang bang. So I guess yeah, easing back from injury maybe, I'm not sure, but it's just gone big. He went pretty big at the start of the year too, so before 84, so I guess that was around the time he got injured. So I think here's one, especially when we're looking for a bit of a discount to bring in this week. If you got a little bit more money, maybe a Matt Rao. Maybe that's just me as a Suns fan. Want to get on a Suns player, so could look at him. But I guess we'll have a look at the break evens as well. So number one this week, Angus Clark. A lot of people went early on him. Only got a 44 this week. So should make a decent amount of money this week, and then it will, start to tail off unless obviously he scores big again. I think the job security is pretty decent, which is why people went on early. Pedlar's another one, so scored a 67 to back up. Must have been about an 80 last week, so at 150k is not the cheapest, but I think he was either a rookie this year or last year, and it's been sort of fairly hyped up in some circles, so could be worth a look. Campbell Gray, so made 50k for us, still got a negative break even, but I think Noah Bolter's back this week, I heard, so he can play the game or whatever. So therefore, might not get a run, but we'll hold him. Don't know elsewhere anything of note. So like a couple of big scores there, like Erasmus. if you held him, well done. He scored 94 on the weekend. Obviously not a trade in this week because of the bye. Um, and at 230k, I don't know if there's that much juice to squeeze out of him post buy unless you obviously want to keep him as a 24th, 25th type option potentially. Um, Sheldrick is there with a -5, so a few people looking at the likes of him, and there's another guy I think that was fairly on the list here. Maybe he's not as his break even's not as small as I thought. Don't know. Can't remember his name, so it doesn't matter. um, but yeah, after that we're starting to get into the positives anyway, so we won't worry too much about that. So in terms of my team this week, I think I'm just going to do the popular moves just because I'm really not too sure. Um, we probably do have to get rid of Bice. We do have to get rid of Philippou, so it makes sense to bring in the two big cheapies, Clark and Pedlar. And we do have 348k in the bank, which is pretty good, but I'll just make these trades first. If we sort of set up the team in terms of its like fullest and strongest lineup, so obviously Tom Gross isn't part of that, neither is Kako, and Finn Callahan, we're not expecting him back till after the buys, but that's fine. So if we have a look at the team here, we've obviously got one big upgrade in defence. Obviously we'd like to upgrade Fryer, but it's not going to happen probably. And ideally Roberts. One upgrade in the midfield. Clary's just going to have to be M8, I think. And then Daniel needs to come on the field. So ideally two upgrades here. Like we'll cop Ashcroft, but I don't think we can trust Hewitt. Well, definitely not the cheapies. So, we've still got a 1, 2, 3, 4 upgrades, probably 5 if you count Matt Flynn. We'd like something better here. We've only got 11 trades, so I think we do have to seek those bargains. Like in this case, we've got the option of a Caldwell. So it's just a question of who do we trade out. So we'll probably want Lindsay's money this week, so I don't think it's him. I guess there is an option to upgrade out of, say, a Simpson we can afford, but that is going to use all of our money. And we do then have to sort of trade out these guys to milk that cash. So, yeah, I'm not. So I guess we've held a Driscoll this whole time. Do we just bite the bullet and give up on him getting back? He was scoring 90s. Like that would be pretty useful for our team as a reserve option, or even he could end up drifting into the flex. So actually I should probably check how my numbers are going elsewhere. So this week we've got 25. Well, saying that we had 24 last week and we barely scraped an 18. So let's go. Let's put Carroll on field. Don't know if he's actually in the team or not still. Kako should play. And like just having to put Gross on field's a bit dirty as well. Sherry's back. How good. And then we've actually got an extra up front, so are we better off rotating the numbers here? It probably depends. Like I said, I heard Gray might not be available, but worst comes to worst, we've got 23 available this week, which is good. So we can potentially upgrade. So yeah, I think just getting out of a pick like Gross, who's like a sub nightmare, just not doing anything for our team. We'll just go by points because he was high up on the list. Caldwell. So bank a little bit of cash this week to try and upgrade elsewhere. So now we've got ourselves our eighth midfielder. Obviously put Brayshaw, Callahan in there. So we do have a bit of cash on the midfield that we can use. Like Lindsay is a 51 break even, so might squeeze a little bit more out of him. I think Kako, we're not getting too much more out of him. 60k, we'll have to sort of take that. Um, but yeah, I think we'll sort of get there, but we won't have many trades left. And like I said, we'll be carrying a couple of not premiums, but we'll get the rookies off field and we'll call that a win. I don't even think it's worth worrying about the league. I think I'm sitting 16th or something, so I'll be doing well to squeeze into the minor final series. Um, and yeah, so captain, vice captain shouts this week. Thursday night at Marvel, so I think Bont's a pretty easy one. Particularly not a lot of people own Bont, so there'll be a few bring him in this week, no doubt, but got to take advantage of that point of difference. And then the obvious captaincy shout, I think, against Flynn this week, Tristan Cherry. So Bond's going to have to go pretty big for me to want to loop, because I've got, a decent score coming up here, I reckon. I guess as well, just because we've got the ability to currently, I'll just put Peddler on as an emergency, can loop in Gray if he goes good against the Lions. If not, well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I guess, if someone like Carroll doesn't get up or something this week, Gray could push up into the fence, do some DPP magic to make all that happen. But yeah, I guess that's all we've got for this one. So as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Supercoach AFL content. Subscribe for the fantasy sports content on the channel, and other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.